Well, hello and welcome to the Bumper to Bumper podcast. I am Dave Riccio, your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast, co-creator of Bumper to Bumper Radio, heard on KTAR. And along with me is my co-host, John Riggle. He is the lead technician here at Tri-City Transmission and Auto Repair, and the guy I go to if I want to know anything automotive. He knows it. He's got a lot of years of experience, not only in the Bay, but also teaching technicians. So anyway, John, I was just considering that what is the most common diagnostic trouble code you see stored in an automobile? And I think this is debatable as to what it might be, but what's your guess?
Well, you got two choices. It's PO 456, which is an EVAP gross leak code,
Okay.
or PO 171174, which are both fuel trim codes. But the gas cap code,
Yeah, it's a gas cap code.
yeah, that's what they call it. It's there's more to it than that. But yeah, the gross leak code is probably the most
Number
common one. I know it's one that gets misdiagnosed a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. So I would say I'll give it three number ones. Most common, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Most ignored code.
Most
And-
ignored, yeah.
And the most failed repair. That's to your misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not well understood in the, and they're also tough. They can be tough to find. If you're
tough.
dealing with a leak,
Yeah.
it might be tough to spot.
Yeah.
So evaporative emissions, what is it? And essentially, we are all worried about the exhaust and emissions coming out the tailpipe. That one's kind of more obvious because you don't want to stick your nose down there and breathe that.
Yeah.
Right. But the other one is evaporative emissions. So as that fuel evaporates in the fuel tank, you get the vapor over the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And that vapor, we don't want to vent that out into the atmosphere because that's not good for things.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we take that vapor off the top, the evaporative fuel or fuel vapor,
Mm-hmm.
put it into a charcoal canister,
Mm-hmm.
and that charcoal canister stores it. And at the right time, we go ahead and draw that fuel vapor out of the canister into the engine and burn it up so we don't stick it out in the
Yeah,
atmosphere.
yeah, and that's kind of the trick. We have to a fuel system has to be vented. You can't operate a fuel system in a vacuum. You can't draw any fuel out of the tank. So you have to vent it. But what you can't do is vent fuel vapor or hydrocarbons to the atmosphere. So if we've got the charcoal canister will store the fuel vapor that's coming off of the top of the tank until we purge it and run it through the engine. That's how we purge the tank. Now, when next time the car is shut off or whatever, the vapor will go back into that canister again. We start over. When we start the car, we purge it. So
Right. So evaporative emissions. So why is it the most ignored?
because it's just an emissions code.
Right.
It's just an emissions
doesn't hurt
code.
anything, doesn't do anything.
Yeah, and everybody, the first thing everybody wants to go after is a gas cap. A gas cap's a possibility for
It's
that
a
code,
possibility.
but it's not necessarily the only possibility.
Well, and you got a couple variations on the code. So you've got the gross leak code.
Mm-hmm.
That's one.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a code that is for a gas cap specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and they use a little bit of logic to determine that. If
Yeah.
you just got gas and they look at the fuel level in the tank, they're going to go there first.
Yeah, they're looking for a change in fuel level from the last time they did the test to this time. And if the fuel level changes by more than a predetermined amount, they go, oh, yeah, somebody
Left the gas
added
cap
fuel
loose.
to it, so left a gas cap loose.
So we got gross leak, fuel cap, and then we've got small leak.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the three codes. And the reason I think they're ignored is because there's no consequence other than environmentally maybe.
Yeah, people don't know it. It doesn't affect the way the car runs for the most part.
Yeah, so when I interview people, they're going to bring their car in. I say, hey, is the check engine light on? Oh, yeah, it's on, but that's just for the emissions thing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing they
Yeah.
say. The
Just
problem
an
with
emissions thing.
ignoring it is you don't know when there's a real problem, right? Because that light, that yellow check engine light, or it comes on for 200 different reasons
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, it doesn't get brighter when it sets another
It
code.
doesn't get brighter, so you could be covering something up. So that's why it's one of the reasons it's not good to ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an urgent, like you got to fix it today, but
Yeah.
it's something that should be fixed.
Yeah, but the thing that bothers me about that, I get them in here all the time, and it's got an EVAP code, and I walk past the car, and I'm like,
You can smell
I
it.
can smell it. You park this thing in your garage overnight? You got to be kidding me. Did you notice that portion of it? So, yeah. So, in the situations where you've actually got a legitimate leak, you have to be careful with ignoring that because that is raw fuel vapor.
Bad for the environment.
It's bad for the environment. It can be bad for your health if the stuff catches on fire.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there's some safety issues there with regards to that we always want to keep in mind when we're.
But it's not going to
dealing
stop
with
you from driving to work, so therefore people can put it and ignore.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other reason I think they get ignored is because better than half the industry doesn't understand how they work.
Oh yeah.
So if you're at the shop, you're like, yeah, I'll put some shocks and some brakes and some easy stuff on your car. But if I got to go diving into this puzzle that I don't understand, I'm going to tell you, I cleared it out. See if it doesn't come back. Then we'll do something. And there is some room for that. Hey, we can clear it out one time, but if it comes back, we're gonna have to dive into it and diagnose it.
Well, yeah, and you have to be careful with that also because people start to make the wrong assumptions about that. So, in order to do an EVAP test, what they do is they actually seal the fuel system, and we draw a vacuum into the fuel system. We can watch a pressure sensor, see if the thing achieves a target vacuum. If it does, then we can close the purge valve, and we can just trap a vacuum in the fuel system and see how long it holds a vacuum. Okay,
Sure.
so that's one method. There's other methods, leak detection pumps, and other ways we can do it. But that's a real common method for doing it. The problem with that is you have to be careful because not only can a leak set that code, but a lack of vacuum
Set that code also.
could set the code also. So you have to understand how the system works, what they're doing with the system, what the possibilities are. And the other thing is there's temperature constraints to doing this. So if we pull a fuel system into a vacuum, we've reduced the pressure acting on that fuel in that tank. So we tend to actually generate more fuel vapor, while we're pulling it into a vacuum to run our tests. So we have to be careful. It's hard to do an onboard EVAP test.
Yeah.
And one of the specifications they have, you've got a gross leak, which is a 40,000.
And you're talking about the vehicle testing.
Yeah, I'm talking
not
about the
us
vehicle
testing.
doing the testing. Yeah, because that's how you're going to get here. You're going to get here, you're going to have a check engine light on. Somebody has already replaced the gas cap. I never get to replace gas
Yeah,
cap.
no, they're already
They all
replaced.
roll in here with new gas caps, and unless they put the wrong.
Well, let's call time out on that gas cap thing here for a second, because the first thing people do is they go down to Acme Auto Parts and they pick up a gas cap. And I tell you what, unless that gas cap says Ford or General Motors on it and it is ordered VIN specific, don't put that thing on your car, because you're going to put it on there. You're going to take it to the shop and they go, no, it's not the gas cap. I already replaced it. Oh, yeah. Did you put a good one on there?
Yeah. I mean, we used to have problems with the aftermarket locking gas caps for the longest time. They don't hold under a vacuum, and it's like, these will never work on these particular systems.
Yeah, so factory gas cap for sure. And I didn't mean to cut you short. I just didn't want to miss that point.
Good point. But so anyways, we have to be careful when we're testing these. You have to know what the system is doing, what it's looking at, because there's a lot of different possibilities. It's not just a gas cap code. It's a failure to do something else. Whatever method we use to test it is actually what the failure is, or the code set criteria. So it's not just this thing where we've got a gas cap sensor on the car. There's no such thing.
So the complication for it is, you may understand a Ford system. Well, Ford does it differently than General Motors, who does it differently than Toyota, who does it differently than Honda.
Yeah.
They all have their own way of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, the way that Chrysler used to do it 5 years later is different than, they change it.
Yeah. Well,
so there's different variations all along the way.
And here's the deal. Part of all this stuff we're talking about with EVAP emissions came around when we started doing OBD2 with the fuel vapor rules and all that stuff. So we have all of these regulations and rules that define it. So when we talk about that gross leak, that gross leak, you have to define that. If you're going to put it into law, you have to define it. So a gross leak is a leak at 40 thousandths of an inch, right, in diameter. But we also have a small leak test, which is a leak at 20 thousandths of an inch. Well, I got news for you. A leak in a fuel evap system at 20 thousandths of an inch, that's a small leak.
Poquito.
That can be really, really hard to find. Some of them can be temperature dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing we found out was some of these systems, because the law says you've got to find every evap leak at 20 thousandths of an inch. Well, we found out in order to do that, if you're a manufacturer, you have to hit every one of those. You're not allowed to miss it. So now, in order to make sure that you are within the constraints of the law, you may have to calibrate your system to detect a leak at 10 thousandths of an inch. Well, here's where it gets tricky. One of the methods we use for finding leaks in evap systems is a smoke machine. It just generates smoke. So we can hook this up, we can pressurize the system, and we can trace this smoke and see where the smoke comes out. Good idea.
Yeah.
It works. I got news for you. That smoke coming out of a 10 thousandths hole is almost impossible to see. Yeah, it is almost impossible. So now we have to revert to doing other tests. We've got to isolate lines, pull them into a vacuum, or pressurize them, and we may have to separate components and individually pressure test each component. You know, so it can take a lot of time. It can be difficult to do, and that's where people get hung up. It's they don't understand the testing method.
Yeah. If it's something easy, something obvious, you know, such as a gas cap, or just a vacuum line hanging loose.
Well, yeah, and you asked me a question earlier. You asked me what can a do-it-yourselfer do when they have one of these types of codes, and I said, well, really not a ton, but one of the things that you can do is a simple visual test, and that's one of the things that I do is a real thorough visual on all evap leaks. I'm looking for tracks where there may be fuel tracks coming down over the top of the tank, something like that. Use your nose, smell. You could smell some of the leaks. A lot of times I'll bring the car in and be there. I'm like, I know the general area. You know, I can smell it as I walk past it. But a real good visual inspection a lot of times, because it depends on all these vacuum lines and fuel vapor lines, all have to be intact. None of that stuff can be broken or leaking. A lot of times you can actually see that. So that's something a do-it-yourselfer could do.
The other thing I would say a do-it-yourselfer can do is there's pattern failures amongst vehicles, right? And I would say the newer the vehicle, probably the better odds that a pattern failure is going to be something you could spot, take a code, throw it in the Google search bar, and says, oh, yeah, these are known for having a bad purge solenoid, right? And you go, purge solenoid, you find that thing, you're like, I can see it, I can probably change that out.
Yeah.
So I could see someone doing that. Now, the one thing that throws everybody off is they think they fixed it, right?
Yeah.
But in order, the car is self-testing. So the car is pressurizing or pulling a vacuum on this fuel tank to see if it's sealed and it's not venting into the atmosphere. That means in order to run that test, it has to have a certain amount of gas in the tank. I think, you know, probably 3/8 and above or something like that. It can't be all the way full.
15 to 85% is a real common number.
Okay. So you got to have that. Then you got to have the right temperature outside. Yeah. So here in Arizona, man, people in the summertime, they fix an evap leak. Well, it's not going to run that test again until September, October.
Yeah, a lot of the leak test criteria, it used to be, they're getting better at it now with the engine off systems and stuff. But in the early days, you never ran an onboard evap test at a startup temperature less than or above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Because when you pulled that fuel into a vacuum, that system to do that type of test, we started generating a whole lot of fuel vapor coming off of that tank. So if the temperature's too high, we get this pressure increase in the tank, in the fuel tank, that kind of messes up your test. So a lot of those, if you cleared codes in April here, it wouldn't run another evap test until October. It'd be December, man. And they'd start rolling in November and December. All these cars that start rolling in, everybody's like, why did all these cars break, right here? They didn't. They were broken. They were broken a long time ago, but the thing just wasn't running tests.
So it's a little bit of a placebo effect sometimes when a DIYer or even an auto shop, they go, well, purge code,
put a cap, put a gas cap on it. 3 months
solenoid
later,
in it, and you think it's fixed. And 3 months later, so it's a number one most ignored code. It's the number one most common code, well, debatable. and it's the number one most failed repair. And I would say I would feel very confident about it being the number one most failed repair because people are like, we've tried to fix that several times and we just gave up. But I mean, here you have to deal with it every 2 years if you're going through emissions. It's going to be something you got to deal with.
Yeah.
So there's really no way to trick the system.
No.
It's got to be fixed. So anything else we're missing here on the EVAP code?
Probably a ton.
Probably. I know, right? It's a big old soupy mess.
Yeah.
But I would say if you're, because people do refer to it as the gas cap code, if you're going to put a gas cap on your car, you want to get a factory gas cap.
Yeah.
A factory one may cost you $20, $30. An aftermarket one may cost you $15. I don't know, but it's a waste of money to put an aftermarket one on there. Might as well just donate the money to charity. Somebody get more benefit out of it.
Yeah.
For sure. Anyway, thanks for joining us on the Bumper to Bumper podcast. If you found it useful, be sure to give us a like, and we'd love it if you subscribe, and feel free to leave comments and suggestions on other things you'd like to hear. Thanks for listening to the Bumper to Bumper podcast. Well, hello, I'm Dave Riccio, your host of the Bumper to Bumper podcast, and I would like to thank you for tuning in. If you want one of your car questions to be answered on our podcast, tap the link in the description for a chance to have your question featured. And while you are there, we would love for you to like and subscribe to see more Bumper to Bumper podcasts in the future.